Welcome to Spicy Toast Gaming. Thank you for tuning in to our Master Yi guide for Path of Champions. If you enjoy this sort of video, please like and subscribe, and let's get into it. So, starting off with a overview, just so you can know if this is a champion that you want to invest your time and shards into playing. We'll just be going over some of the general play styles that they have, some of their strengths and weaknesses. So first we have Flow. So that's the entire mechanic kind of built around the Master Yi deck. Pretty much every champion has one core feature, and for Master Yi that is Flow. So what that is you're trying to play 2 spells every single round to unlock the flow effects of certain cards, or the star powers. So it's a very spells-based deck. Most of the spells are trying to buff up your units, but that is the general theme of the entire deck. So in accordance with that, burst combat tricks. Most of the spells you're casting are cheap combat tricks to give you a boost, can really help mess with the AI. They think you have a lot of weaker units, they attack, suddenly you buff them all up at burst speed, and then they are destroyed. Or you attack and you're able to buff up your unit very quickly, and then either end the game much faster or take out units that they block with that they didn't think you could kill them with. So if you like a lot of combat tricks, this is definitely a deck for you. Next we have Aggressive. So Master Yi is a pretty aggressive deck. He has some elusives in there, and you want to be taking the fight to the enemy and winning relatively quickly. Like I just said, elusives, you have several of them throughout your deck. You also have a way with your star powers to give elusive to your units for a round, and so often you're able to avoid the enemy and just hit the nexus if you want to end the game faster. Next we have built-in champ draw. So one of the spells in Yi's kit has a champion horde on it, so you're going to be using that quite often, and you're going to be getting champions throughout the whole game. So if you are worried about playing a champion focused deck that you're not going to be able to draw your champions, that's already in there. You won't really have a problem with Master Yi, at least once you hit that level with him that you're going to get that item on the spell. Next we have built-in draw. So several of Yi's cards have draw on them, or the entire focus of the card is to draw more spells. So you're normally going to be struggling with having too many cards than running out of cards. So you have a lot of cheap units, cheap spells, and you have so many ways to draw more units and spells that you're normally never running out of cards. And so it's pretty nice that you don't have to worry about that, unlike some of the other decks. Alright, so that's it for a brief overview. Let's go hop in the game and take a look at Master Yi, his deck, and his star powers. In game now with Master Yi. As you can see, we have him at level 21 and 3 stars. So Master Yi is a 3-cost champion, so on the lower end, but you're not going to be able to play him the first round unless you get lucky with some cost reduction. He starts out as a 2-3 with quick attack. He has the text of round start, reduce the cost of a spell in your hand by 1, and then flow. So if you played 2 spells last round, grant all allied Master Yis everywhere 2 power. And that everywhere means in your deck, in your hand, or any that you create later in the game. And his level up is I've dealt 12 damage, so it has to be this specific card. If you have 2 Master Yis on the board, both of their level up is going to be individual. As far as one of them has to do 12 damage themselves, you can't have both of them do like 6 damage, but once one levels up, they all level up. So his level up then changes to attack, I immediately strike the weakest enemy. So when you attack, they have no chance to try to stop it. They can't play any spells. He immediately just takes out one of the enemy units, because normally he's going to have enough attack just to kill their weakest unit. So that can be very fun, especially if you can get multiple Yis on the board where they're able to just take out all the enemy units. Now their champion spell is Wuju style. Give an ally 2 power this round, and create a meditate in hand, and then also create a Master Yi in your deck if you're playing his champion spell version of it. The meditate is the 2 health. So by having this card, you can immediately do your 2 spells each round just by drawing the Wuju style. So that can be very nice to trigger your flow every round. Taking a look at his star powers. So the Mind and Body, the rank 1 version. When you play a fleeting or a non-fleeting spell, create a 1-cost fleeting Twin Disciples in hand. Round start flow, grant allies 1/1. So this is the spell you're going to be creating in your hand whenever you play a non-fleeting card. So it plays fairly similar to like a Lee Sin, except instead of Lee Sin getting this every round, you first have to play some other non-fleeting spell. So this last part, round start flow, grant allies 1/1. This is when you have the 3-star version. If you just have the 1-star version, it doesn't have this. So another reason to get flow, you're buffing up your whole board with that 1/1. Can be decent, although I find with Master Yi, you normally don't have that wide of a board. You normally only have like 1 or 2 units, so it's good. It's not as good as some other 3-star powers. So it's not really as necessary to get Master Yi to the 3 stars. It's helpful, but I think he does just fine with just the 2 stars. So his 2-star power, +1 starting mana, round start flow, give your strongest ally elusive this round. So again, further reinforcing the flow, you're trying to get that every single round of playing 2 spells, and now it's going to give your strongest ally elusive. Now this is just for the round, so normally it's going to be Master Yi getting elusive and being able to use that to either block annoying opponents like Zoe, or use that to go around opponents and just hit their Nexus. So it works pretty well together. The star powers, and again, you just always want to be getting those 2 spells. Taking a look at his starting deck, so he gets Rush, give an ally +1 power and quick attack this round. Very nice, good cheap burst spell. This will give you a Twin Disciples so that you can get your flow going. Vestayan Disciple, Nexus Strike, recall me and transform me into the Shimon Wind. So elusive, and then he turns into a spell. This recently got nerfed to go from burst speed to focus speed. So before you could play this in response to the enemy attacking and get another blocker. You can't do that anymore, but it has that 1 draw on it, and it is another spell, so it is pretty good. I believe also you got a item that he also got a draw. I guess not. So he does have the draw from the Shimon Wind. When you play him, you get that draw 1, which is very nice. You have your Wuju style. So this is just in your deck normally, and this has the Hero's Horn on it. So this is where you gain your champion draw. Another very cheap card. Combat trick that you can play, and it generates that meditate. Since this is also his champion spell, the champion spell also gets the champion horn. So when you're playing this from Master Yi, you're immediately putting a Master Yi in your deck and then drawing him, so you're never really running out of cards. So we have Master Yi himself at 3 cost. Deep Meditation. So this normally is 5 mana, but you get the Tear of the Goddess. So flow, I cost 2 less. Draw 2 other spells. More draw, very nice. We have River Shaper. I personally don't really like this card. It feels just too weak in my opinion, but strike, draw a spell. If I'm cutting a card from the deck, it would often be River Shaper and Windsinger. So this is normally a 6 cost, which in my opinion is way too expensive. Be more playable at 4, but I don't really like this card too much personally, so I usually cut it. But 4 cost once you get higher level, play recall a unit, so it can be good for getting rid of a big scary enemy target, or if you want to recall one of your own for some reason, you can do that as well. Elusive. And then we have Swole Squirrel. So 4 mana, strike, double my power with tough. This card can work as a good backup win condition, because if you can protect him with all your combat tricks, you can get him quite large, and then when he gets elusive from your 2-star power, you can just use that to ignore the enemy and destroy their nexus. So it can be a pretty good card, especially if you're earlier in your champion levels and you're having a hard time drawing like Master Yi or something like that. He can work as that backup win condition. You're probably going to not need him if you're at a higher level, but it can be pretty helpful. So taking a look at relics, the 2 rares that I definitely recommend is the Grand General's Counterplan. So round start, create a fleeting copy of me in hand. That copy then, if you already have a Yi in play, is just going to be turning into the Wuju style, which, as we see right here, has a champion horn on it, and it's a cheap card you can play for getting your flow off. And then since it generates this other copy, you'll immediately be able to have 2 cheap spells you can play, so you're always getting flow, which is very important. And then you're drawing more Master Yis, which then can turn into more combat tricks, so you always have enough combat tricks that you want. And since you're always putting a new copy in your hand, you're actually never running out of cards. So this is one that I think is very good. So the Grand General's Counterplan, very good card to have. Make sure you never run out of spells. Since you're using so many spells, Archangel Staff, very nice for Master Yi. Since he's 3 costs, you can get him on the board pretty early, and so you're going to benefit from Archangel Staff throughout most of the game. Corrupted Star Fragment, not bad. Since he's pretty cheap, you can try to just buff him up by eating whatever other units you put on the board. And since you have a couple of cheap elusives, you could give him elusive permanently very easily. I would not recommend Gale Force, so you want him on the board to get his flow effect off of buffing himself and all other Master Yis. So he's able to scale up quite well. So if we go and take a look at some of the cheaper cards, or not cheaper, the commons. Lost Chapter can be very nice for Master Yi. Chameleon's Necklace, also not bad. You can always go for Banshee's Veil, giving yourself a spell shield to get a bit more protection. I'll probably go myself with my 3rd slot once this is unlocked. Probably either go with Spell Shield or Lost Chapter, just so that when I play Yi, I have enough mana to immediately get my flow off, because normally what happens is you spend all your mana on round 3 to play him, but then you don't have any mana to actually play your spells. So even though you have Archangels, Lost Chapter can be nice for that first round. Challenger always can be good with Quick Attack, so you always can take an enemy unit off the board, but often your Master Yi is going to be elusive, and so you're not actually going to be wanting to challenge anyone anyways. But that's it for some of the relics and the in-game portion for Master Yi. Now we'll go take a look at some of the powers you might want to get in-game, as well as what support champions could work well paired up with Master Yi. Hey everyone, Spicy Toast here. Just had one last thing I wanted to mention before we go over to in-game powers, and this is how to keep track of your flow in-game. So if you look here at the Nexus health, it looks normal, there's nothing going on, and we're going to play a spell. We suddenly have this green shimmer on the top of our Nexus. This is our flow. So as you can see, it's halfway full. This is showing us that we have played 1 spell so far this round. And so we don't quite have our flow yet, but we're halfway there. If we would play another spell, suddenly this is full. So if you see this in game and you didn't know what it is, this is keeping track of your flow. If the enemy had a flow effect as well, it would show up for them too. But for Master Yi, it's very important to always know whether or not you have triggered that. So this here is a good indicator in-game of showing you if you have your flow done for the round, or if you still need another spell. Now I will say that sometimes if you don't have any of your flow cards down here, so if for some reason you just have a full hand of none of them have the flow effect, This doesn't always show up, even though as a Master Yi deck, you always have your flow effect from your star powers of giving elusives and buffing up your cards with your star powers. So if you don't have any flow cards, this might not show up, but generally this is an interface element that you can know and keep track of your flow. Alright, that was it for this small portion. I'll now send it back to the powers, and we'll take a look at those together. So taking a look at powers, first here we have counterfeit production. Round start, create a fleeting 0-cost counterfeit copies in hand. So this works very well for Master Yi for being able to get one of your spell triggers off. Now with this, since you're playing a fleeting spell, you're not going to be getting that Twin Disciples in hand because it has to be a non-fleeting spell in order to trigger that. But this is still a free way of getting one of your flow spells off. And also with counterfeit production, any of the powers that give you a cheap or 0-cost spell in hand, so the one that creates the Time and Dedication, or the one that creates the 0-mana predict, any of those, or even the Blade's Edge, any of those powers, very good on Master Yi. Gearing up, game start, summon 2 armed gearheads. You're going to be playing a lot of created cards, and so with the augment, they're going to get buffed up very fast, very heavily. Can be very nice for you as Master Yi, and at least in my experience, normally I don't have that full of a board, and so having one of these powers where it's adding some extra units can be very helpful. Domination, round start, rally. So you don't really have any spells to remove enemy threats. You're wanting to be using your units and all of your combat tricks as your main source of power. So being able to attack every single round, definitely very helpful and something you want to look out for when you're playing Master Yi. For the next group of powers here, we have Spellslinger. Your spells cost 1 less. So you're playing tons of spells. They're all relatively cheap. So Spellslinger is going to give you huge dividends. A lot of your spells just cost 1 or 2 mana, so you're either going to be making most of your spells free or just cost 1. So very good to have. Sorcery, round start, refill your spell mana. Very good, even if you do have Yi with the Archangel Staff, having that first couple rounds of full mana can really be very good and get your flow going at the very start of the game. Quite often, the first couple rounds, you just don't have enough mana to play your units as well as playing 2 spells. So being able to start that stacking and scaling from the very first round, very helpful, definitely nice to have. Alright, the last group of powers. Now, normally I don't like to use too many epics in a guide. I normally just try to use 1, but with Yi, there's just so many very good epics that work for him. So share the bounty. When you target an ally with a single target spell, copy it on your weakest ally. This works incredibly well for Master Yi. You're playing so many combat tricks and they're all targeting your allies. So being able to just spread those out to everyone, very, very good. And then if you just have like Master Yi on the board, it's then doubling all of your combat tricks. Crazy, very, very strong. Spell burn, when you play a spell, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. Again, you're playing so many spells each round, especially in the later rounds where you might be playing 10 or more spells. So you're able to do absolutely massive amounts of damage to the enemy nexus just by playing normally. And then can't stop, won't stop. Allied buffs except barrier are permanent. So for one, if you're doing your flow, that elusive that you're giving a unit is now going to be permanent. And then all of your combat tricks are just for that round. So they're just temporary buffs. So being able to make all those temporary buffs permanent means you just have absolutely massive units. And so there's so many, or like these 3 epics that just work so well on Master Yi. While I normally don't want to shout out too many, I feel like these were just too important to not add here. So if you see any of these on Master Yi, very, very good. Definitely try them out and you will have lots of success. Alright, let's go take a look at what support champions can work very well with Master Yi. Support champions for Yi. So as always, we don't just want to give you a list of support champions. We want to tell you what you potentially want to look for in your support champions and be able to know why champion is good or not and not just give you the list of champions you should choose if you see them. So first we have Flow. It's the main effect for Master Yi. Several other champions also benefit from that. So if you see that on a support champion or their cards, you might want to pick that up. Targeting allies, Master Yi, again, that's what his whole deck is built around. So further reinforcing that, getting a support champion that also benefits from that is going to be very, very good. And then Augment. You're playing tons of created cards every single round. Any support champion that's going to benefit from Augment is going to be very powerful for you. So first we have Pantheon. Pantheon goes with targeting allies. You want to target people every single round. You're going to be getting the benefits of that because you're going to target someone generally every single round. So Pantheon can work very well. Next we have Victor. Victor with Augment. He's always playing created cards. His units all benefit from Augment. If you can get his units on the board, they will scale up very, very strong. And then lastly, we have Seraphine. So her cards benefit from Flow. You're going to get some good benefits from her and her support cards, and it will definitely help you come away with the win quite often. So this will take a look at the support champions, and this was the Master Yi guide for Path of Champions. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching that video all the way to the end. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. We're putting out multiple videos every single day for Path of Champions content. So if that interests you, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and welcome to the channel. Have a great day.